Okay. Hang on one more second. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for May 11th, starting at 7:05, just a little late. If anyone's having any technical difficulties, please contact Jamie Lawson at 336-380-7064 or Conrad Olamedo at 336-214-4515. I said that right? Okay. So tonight's public comments to address the commission in this meeting, please indicate so by using the raised hand feature in the Zoom if you wish to speak to anyone. And okay, Jamie, you want to do the roll call?
Sure. Christina Meinking? You're on mute.
Here, I'm having some internet issues too, so if it doesn't come through, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We can hear you. Chair Bryan?
Here.
Mr. Pennington?
Here.
Mr. Vandermaas Peeler?
Here.
Vice Chair Molly Willach?
Here.
And Mr. Ulis?
Here.
Also present is Jamie Lawson, Principal Planner of the City of Burlington, and Conrad Almedo, Planning Manager.
Okay. So there are minutes from March 9th. Did everyone have a chance to go over those? And do they have any changes that need to be made?
I'm listed as present, but I was unable to attend that meeting, so it's one change.
Okay. Okay, is that all? Any other changes? Okay, I would like to have a motion to approve the minutes with the changes.
Make a
So
motion
moved.
to approve. This is Molly.
Second, Brian Pennington.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, so the minutes pass.
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor. Molly, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Did Russ say aye? Do you approve? Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Has everyone had time to look at the agenda? So we have three main items for tonight. And the first one is about the carousel and the city request to move and do all the renovations and stuff. Do we have any conflicts with interest about this first case? Take that as a no. Okay, Jamie, if you would like to present the case.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. In your packet, agenda item number 1, there was a request by the City of Burlington for renovations to the City Park Carousel House landmark site that's located at 1386 South Church Street. The scope of work is included in the item. It includes painting of the exterior and the sprinkler pipes, removing the garage doors and the iron fencing, installation of pavement within the building, structural reinforcements to the ceiling beams, removal of the iron partitions, relocation of the electrical panel, and relocation of the Denzel carousel to a new carousel building within City Park. The staff report includes the findings of facts along with the application, site maps, and supporting detail. Staff recommends approval of this request. Rachel Kelly, Assistant City Manager of Administrative Services, is also present along with Fred Patrick. They are able to provide additional detail and description of the project. I guess at first off, would like to say that anything I provide tonight in terms of information, I'll confirm that it's the best, confirming that the information provided is the truth to the best of my ability. And I'll also ask that Rachel and any of the other applicants do the same. So Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an exact script, but everything I share tonight is certainly the truth to the best of my knowledge.
That's perfect. So why don't you go ahead and feel free to supplement any information that I've provided. After you do so, then the commission will be able to ask questions of you as well as members of the public.
Sure. And if you don't mind, I've put together a few pictures just to sort of walk you through our application. There are a couple different items there. I've also got on the call now is Fred Patrick. He is our city's contract capital projects manager, and he's helping out with this this project that we hope to accomplish. We did come before this body in 2019 to get a certificate of appropriateness to have the carousel artistic and mechanical components restored completely. So that has been done, and this is sort of a phase 2 of that. So if you don't mind, I'll share my screen, run through this really quickly, and then accept any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
All right, everybody see that okay?
I can.
Not yet. There we go. Mhm.
All right, perfect. Now let me make sure I can see you all. All righty. Okay, so just as a refresher, I'm not sure who on this board was here in 2019 and how familiar you are with Burlington's Denzel Carousel, but it's a turn of the century hand carved wooden carousel by carousel maker Denzel, which is, there are about 26 from our research in the country that are still around and intact. So pretty rare piece of movable art. It's really a special gem here in Burlington. So this is a photo of it before it went to Marion, Ohio for its restoration in 2019. As Jamie mentioned, our request tonight includes both relocating those animals that are currently being restored in Ohio to a new Carousel House, and also to do some, I'll call them minor renovations to the existing Carousel House, which is also labeled historic, so that it can be repurposed and be a contributing structure in the amusement area of City Park. Just a refresher for those of you who may not remember or weren't here in 2019, Carousels and Carvings is the contractor that has Burlington's Denzel Carousel in Marion, Ohio. They took that in 2019, shipped it up there, came down here, their professionals took it apart and shipped it to Ohio. They're repairing mechanical parts, they're repairing the carousel animals, the platform, they're installing an ADA compliant chariot, an ADA drawbridge to allow handicapped riders to enjoy the ride. They're repairing the drive unit and light fixtures. This outfit has done several Denzel carousels. Most notably, the Pullen Park Carousel in Raleigh was redone and continues to be maintained by Carousels and Carvings. The Please Touch Museum in Memphis, no, not Memphis, I apologize, Philadelphia, has been completely restored by Carousels and Carvings. And most recently, the Memphis Children's Museum Carousel, which is also a Denzel, was done by Carousels and Carvings. So they are definitely experts in the field. We did a lot of research to find them and have so far been very pleased with their project updates. I wanted to share with you a couple of those really quickly, just so you have the context. These are some of the photos of the mechanical and artistic features when they arrived in Marion, Ohio. As you'll see, the animals had lots of separation of the wood panels and cracking. This is just a couple of photos of the artists at work restoring our animals and carving our ADA chariot. I think it's really interesting. As you'll notice, it's all handwork. This is why the project's taken well over 2 years. They're painstakingly going through the 46 menagerie carousel animals and the mechanical systems. And these are some of the finished products. They've been sending us pictures as they've come. As you'll see, they're really beautiful. They had to strip down the prior paint, and paint technology has come a long way since the 1980s grassroots restoration that Burlington community took on. So now you'll see a lot more detail of that carving through the paint as the paint has evolved. They've done a really pretty job. So now that you saw that little bit of the restoration that's ongoing, I just want to talk to you about our plan to relocate the animals. The most important reason is because of the floodplain. So you'll see that the current location of that carousel house, the historic carousel house, is within the floodplain. We spent $1.2 million on the restoration of those animals. And as I mentioned before, it's a very rare historic artistic artifact. And it was important to staff and city council to preserve those animals for the long haul, if you will. Keep them looking great and protect them from what seems to be increasing flooding in the city park area. This is just a map to show you the intended location. I'm sure if you've been down Church or Main Street, you've seen the construction between the YMCA and the amusement area. That is that Carousel House. The footers are going in there, but the historic carousel structure is right here. If you can see my mouse in the yellow pointing to it, and the proposed carousel location is just a bit towards the YMCA, still within that amusement area, but in some flat, higher ground there. The intention being that you're going to be able to see that carousel from the roadway. It really will be that gym that you can see from far and wide. This is just another site plan which helps you see a little bit better the connectivity and the plans. So this will be the new Carousel House. This blue structure is the existing TJ Sports Shelter. We'll have a small event area attached to that Carousel House and a patio. So that way events can take place and people can really use the carousel as a highlight of some of their events and our city programming. If you come across the brick patio, you'll get to the existing Carousel House over here. And this is a rendering from our architects of what the Carousel House should look like at completion. So got that nice glass. You'll be able to see it at night when it's lit up. It's semi-conditioned space. We had to really walk a fine line between the amount of humidity and temperature that's healthy for the wooden animals to be able to contract and expand, but also be something that we could use into shoulder seasons and give the community even more access to the carousel than they've had before. So this is the existing Carousel House, which, as you've seen in your packet, is designated as a historic structure in and of itself. It was built in 1948 when the carousel moved to Burlington, and has been modified since. The brick columns have been added, the garage doors have been added, but that's just sort of an overview of what that structure looks like. As Jamie mentioned, our scope of work includes removing some of the fencing. That way people can free flow through the structure, using it as a picnic area, a covered picnic area. Right now, it is designed to run a carousel ride, which means we've got to prepare for people to queue. We've got state ride inspections that we've got to comply with about where people are able to stand and who can come in and out of the structure when it's being operated. So this partition right here is the start of the queue for the line to ride the carousel, which of course would no longer be necessary. This is a view from inside the structure without the carousel. It's kind of lonely. As you'll notice, it has a dirt floor. And you'll see where the carousel jumpers that went up and down have created, or there is a trench created for them. And the base, this little concrete base, and of course the the power, which was in the middle of the building, won't work so well for a picnic structure. So our plan is to do solid concrete as the flooring, no trip hazards. It will look nice and uniform inside the building. There is some structural, there are some structural components that need to be shored up. Fred, you might want to help me out here so I don't mess it up, but there's some warping of the wood that needs to be shored up. Are you there, Fred? Do you want to jump in on that one? Maybe not. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
there he is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the existing carousel had a center column.
Sorry, Jamie, the swear the oath or the swearing
Oh,
testimony.
yes.
Sorry about that.
I swear that I will, to the best of my ability, say things that I know to be true. Is that good enough?
That's
Or what
close
do you
enough.
want, Jamie?
Do you confirm to the best of your ability that the information that you're going to provide in testimony is truth?
I do. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So when the carousel, it had a center pole that intersected with these tie restraints for the bottom cord of the truss, and it rubbed on some of them, and it bowed some of these large trusses a little bit out of plane. Not to any extent. I don't think this picture really shows any of them that you can see, but they were bowed a little bit out of plane. So we have had a structural engineer take a look at it, and we're going to add a two 2x10s between, in a circle, very much similar to the circle that's around the raised part right now, and connect those trusses. We're not going to move any of them. We're just going to stabilize them in place and do some metal connectors with some bolts on them to stabilize it so that it can't move any during wind loading. And so it's a really minimal improvement to the structure just to keep it stabilized so that we won't have any problems with movement. So that's what we're looking at doing.
Thank you, Fred.
Mhm.
I'll also point out in this photo that our intent is to just freshen up the paint, and we would like to go ahead and get the red sprinkler systems painted to match, so it blends in a little bit better also. It's just a closer look at the that dirt floor that we're dealing with right now, and that electrical box, which is proposed to be moved to the sprinkler room, so it's out of access for the public. And that's all I have by way of photos to add context to my application. I'm happy to take any questions that you all have or elaborate on any topics that you might need more information about.
Rachel, I just have a couple questions. This is Molly Whitlatch. Do you know when the garage doors and the iron fencing were added?
I don't. I haven't found any records to, that would indicate when that happened.
Are those elements mentioned in the National Register application as being contributing elements?
They aren't. The National Register is only the carousel itself. The building was not included in that application and is not on the historic register for the state and the federal program. It was only included in the local ordinance.
Okay. And do you have any plans to repurpose either of those items?
Not at this time.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have one. This is
Yeah.
James. So I know, like with the fence, is it possible to keep a majority of it? The only reason why I say is, it's pretty much part of that building and it gives it that uniqueness. I mean, I can understand the partition, yeah, that needs to go. And like, as far as the garage doors, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I read when they renovated the carousel, I think that's when they put them in to
That would
correct
make
it.
sense for the brick as well.
Yeah, and then I guess, if we could keep the fence, because, in every picture, it's just, that's what gives its uniqueness. My other question is, where is the sprinkler rise room, just out of curiosity? Is it in one of those two? Like, just curious.
Hold on one second. If I have this aerial, it might be helpful.
Because I know where the organ was. And I
It's
know
right-
there's that room next to it. Is it?
That's it. It's
Okay.
right beside that.
Yeah, that's the room.
Okay.
Yeah, that little jut out on the back there with the organ and the sprinklers.
Okay. Yeah. My thing was just the fence, because it's not the best looking, but it was kind of put there when they renovated it. And if we could keep it.
I will. Fred, do you want to elaborate? I know our plans are to keep some portion of that fence for practical purposes. And the rest we were hoping could be more free flowing so folks can come in and out to picnic tables and whatnot. But Fred, how many of those panels are intended to stay?
Okay, so on the north side, there's a couple of fencing panels that we want to keep anyway, because the exterior asphalt has a berm that is to keep water runoff that comes down from that upper parking lot. And it's existing, so we're just going to keep those panels in place, and it keeps water from coming in there. There are 4 to 6, and at least 4, and I think there are 6 panels that have been modified over the years and have bolted attachments so that you can bolt and unbolt those panels and open them up. So I know at least, again, 4 and it may be 6 panels could be removed and we could store them, but it would not change anything. We wouldn't have to do any renovations to it to remove those panels and store them and put them back. So I don't know how many eventually what they need, but that may suffice, and we possibly could leave the rest if you so deem.
Okay, yeah, that's all. I just, it's part of it, and it, even if it could be painted, it, just gives part of it. It's from what, everybody knows. But if part of them are kept, that's fine with me. I just, some, because, but that's all
They're on that front section when you come down from the parking lot, because that's where the water runoff is. So there's a little bump there to keep the water from coming in to the Carousel House. So the ones that will remain, at least, will be the ones that you see when you enter the amusement area.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
So Lori, staff has not received any calls or emails from members of the public, but you may want to just ask if there's anybody in the attendee list. It looks like there's one person who does have his hand raised.
Okay.
A Tom Cohen.
Okay. And do we need to do the oath thing for him?
If there's a person who's interested in asking questions, yes, we should.
So it's actually not Tom, it's Lynn Cowan,
Okay, my apologies.
both on here. And if you want to swear me in, I was actually on the commission when that first renovation was done. So I can probably tell you when some of that stuff happened.
Wonderful.
Great. Lynn, why don't you go ahead and if I can swear you, do you affirm that the information you're about to provide is the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
Great.
So the garage doors were added when that renovation was done in the 80s, when Diane Balt did that. And the fencing didn't go in until much later, if I recall correctly. I think that had to do with the regs, the state regs that were required, the safety regs. So really none of that was original. I mean, I remember going to the thing in the 60s growing up here. So it didn't even have the brick columns at that point. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's the history. So that first renovation and the Diane bought headed up in the 80s was when a lot of that stuff happened.
Well, thank you very much for that added information. Are there any other comments or questions from folks on the call? If you are interested, please raise your hands. Conrad has put some information in the chat here, but if you're interested in speaking, please raise your hand or press *9 if you're calling in. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands raised. Lori?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through quickly the findings of fact for the application. The findings of fact fall under C1-1 through 5, then which is all about just repairing all the architectural pieces to it. Then it's C6-1, 2, more about the cleaning methods that's needed. C12-1, talking about the color placement should be still appropriate and still match. C13-1, strong chemical paint strippers which can permanently damage the surface should be avoided. C13-3, removing all old paint should be avoided unless there is a strong reason to do so, such as an obscured architectural detail, paint peeling, or cracking. Does anyone else have any findings of fact that they'd like to add to these?
I would add to that that there was evidence presented that the garage doors and the fencing were not original to the carousel housing, that they were added in the 1980s or later and are not of a historic nature, that the building is going to be repurposed for picnic tables, and that there is a need for ingress and egress out of the building. I would also add that there was evidence testimony presented that the building had been evaluated by a structural engineer and that reinforcement is needed, and that it's going to be the additional panels or wood structural elements will be painted to match the rest of the ceiling, along with the refreshing paint that they're doing. And then would incorporate by reference the application and the materials submitted by the city.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that? Okay. So I call for a motion to approve the findings of fact with Molly's additions.
So moved, Russ.
Okay,
Second, Brian Pennington.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Any opposed? Okay.
Great.
Now,
Mhm.
what's my next thing? Don't we have?
Approve the COA.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the COA with, by the findings of fact? Can I get?
I'll make a motion to approve the COA as it was submitted.
Thank you. A second?
Christina, second.
Awesome. Okay.
All in favor?
Yes, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right.
And just to clarify, Russ, you came in, you're in favor of the application, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I was muted, so I had to say it too late.
And I just want to say thank you to the city for undertaking this project and the people that are working on it. I think it's really cool that we have something like this that's so accessible to the public.
Me too.
Yeah, strongly agree. Thank you, Rachel and crew.
Thank you
It's a
all.
childhood memory. At least for me it is. I remember. So
It's been a really great experience, and our community engagement division's done a nice job at capturing some oral histories during the Carousel Festival when it was gone. That's been really cool. So trying to capture those memories and the history as it's being restored for its third iteration here in Burlington.
And what's the launch date?
That's a great question, and I'm here to speculate. The building and the carousel have to work together. So if the carousel restoration is complete before the building is complete, it will have to be stored and wait because they have to be completed together. So we're hoping at this point probably sometime in the winter.
Cool.
We're excited.
That's great. Okay.
Thank you all for your consideration and your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I need to say anything else to officially say we're ready to move on to the next one? Okay,
You just did it.
awesome. Okay. The second item on our agenda is a request from Faith Grant, who's the president of the Preservation Burlington. They have submitted a COA to be able to add a wood sign located at 2359 Glencoe Street for the Preservation Burlington Salvage Store. Is Faith here?
Yes, she is on the call.
Okay, great.
And Lori, I have a conflict with this application, so
Okay,
ask for a motion to be recused.
okay. Does anyone have any conflicts with this application? So, what now? Are you
I
good?
motion to recuse Molly.
Okay,
Second,
so recused. Okay. All right, now we can go.
All right, so I will be happy to present item number 2.
I think we
This-
lost the applicant. Okay.
You there,
Oh,
Faith?
there's
I'm back. My internet decided to die.
Okay, great. I will be happy to present item number 2. This is for 2359 Glencoe Street. This is a request by Faith Grant. She's the president of Preservation Burlington for a 32 square foot wooden sign for the Preservation Burlington Salvage Store. Staff has reviewed the application. We've also confirmed that the sign meets the Unified Development Ordinance requirements. And if approved, just as a next step, the sign would also require a separate sign permit. The application, maps and supporting material, as well as the findings of facts, have been included in your staff report, and staff requests approval or recommends approval of this request. Ms. Grant is also present to provide additional information. I do have the pictures that you sent that I can pull up when you're ready for that. She is able to answer any questions, and I will just ask Ms. Grant to confirm that the information that you're about to provide is the truth to the best of your ability.
Yes, to the truth, but my best ability.
Great, thank you very much. Faith, if there's anything that you want to supplement in terms of the application, feel free to do so.
Okay. Are you gonna present it, or are you
can-
pull anything up?
Yeah, I can pull up the 2 pictures that you've.
Okay. So these 2 photos were requested by Kathleen with Preservation North Carolina. And I thought that if she was requesting this information, that commission would also like to see it. This is an approximation of the placement and size of the sign. It's to scale to the best of our ability without involving an architect. It's basically, the doors themselves are 14 feet wide in totality. The sign is 8 feet wide. So that would be the approximate size centered between the door openings, and as low as possible as to not to block too much the vent. There is a couple rungs of the vent blocked, but it shouldn't be very much. And if you want to show the other photo, Jamie. This sign was done at Steve's Market in Graham, and it was done by the same company that is going to be making our sign. I wanted to share this with everyone because this is the Shousugibon burn treatment. So essentially, instead of paint, which will peel and have to be maintained, this is actually a burning of the wood, which is a self-preservation. So this should last decades without needing to be repainted or retouched up. It should preserve it for certainly the life of the time that will probably be at the Quonset hut within Glencoe. Anyone else have any questions?
Any of the commission members have questions for Ms. Grant?
I don't have any. I think everything that was submitted is very self-explanatory.
So at this time, there's no plans for any renovation of the structure itself?
No, not at this time. We do have plans to request the homeowners paint the exterior of the building to preserve it. There are some few areas where rust has begun, as you could tell from the photos. There is, it's really actually in very good shape for not having really had much done to it. So that's the biggest request that we plan on making to the owners, is to have them paint it to prevent further deterioration. And I just wanted to say to everyone that we looked for a long time to find any location for the salvage store, and we're really grateful to be able to have such a perfect location in Glencoe. It's really a marrying of the best of all worlds. We have a burgeoning downtown, which was where our office is held, and a growing area in Glencoe, where we hope that by having the salvage shop there, that we can bring business and restaurants and other shops to the Glencoe mill area, and just further round out the neighborhood that's already in place. So we really lucked out in this location. We're really grateful to have it and to be surrounded by preservationists all around. So I appreciate everyone's time in looking at the application.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm gonna go ahead and run through the findings of fact.
Well, before you do that, I just want to say that staff has not received any emails or calls. You may want to just ask if there's anyone who is on the call today, if they have any questions or comments on this application. And I've put in the chat to continue to either raise your hand or press *9 if you're interested in speaking on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Is anyone interested that's on the call or online? Do they have any questions for Ms. Grant about this application?
Okay, I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. Okay. So we can move to the findings of fact. Okay. The findings of fact for this COA is start B10-1, 2, 3 through 5. And it's just appropriate materials for signs that are wood, metal, concrete, or masonry. They should not be attached to the buildings in a way that it'll interfere or destroy the architectural features. Portable signs, unless temporary, are not allowed. Billboards are not allowed. And plastic signs, internally illuminated signs, and flashing signs are not allowed. B10-8, signs for historic commercial buildings should be placed in locations originally intended for signs such as the I don't know how to say that word, or of a cornice or on the top of a storefront. B10-9, all signs should conform to the existing sign ordinance. And then the last findings was B3-3, landscape accessories such as benches, lights, and signs should be compatible in scale, color, and material in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Does anyone else have any findings of fact they would like to submit to these? I'll take that as a no. Okay. So can I get a motion, first motion to approve the findings of facts as is?
So moved, James.
Okay, thank you.
Second, Christina.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Now I'd like to make a motion to approve the COA. Is that right? Okay. Anybody, could I get a motion, first motion to approve the COA as
So
is?
moved, Brian Pennington.
Thank you.
Second, Russ Peeler.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. It's approved. It passes.
Thank you very much to Preservation Burlington and to Faith
Yes.
Grant for all the work you do on behalf of historic preservation in the city. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For the record, Chairwoman Brian, were you able to vote in that last round?
Did I? I thought I said which part. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay. Oh, it's fine. I just wanted to double check. Sorry about that.
I said yes
Okay, thank you.
to everything. This is so uncomfortable. Don't put that in the minutes.
You're
Okay.
doing great. Thank you.
Y'all are just being nice. Okay, so we're good to move on to the third. Molly, are you going to rejoin us? Our third item on the agenda is for a Miss Williams to put a utility shed in her backyard.
Yes, that is correct. We have item number 3, and this is for 725 West Front Street. And Ms. Williams and Mr. Briscoe have joined the meeting and are able to participate. But first, I'll just summarize. We received a request by Ms. Williams for an 8x16 wooden shed. There are supporting pictures of what the shed will look like. It will be comprised of wood, unstained wood, and a metal roof. There's also a site map that shows the location of the shed and that it will be 10 feet from the property line, which conforms to the Unified Development Ordinance. Included within the staff report are maps as well as the finding of fact, and staff recommends approval of this request. Ms. Williams, property owner, is present, as I mentioned, and able to provide additional information. And I'll ask that she and whoever else may be testifying can confirm that the information that they're providing is the truth to the best of their ability.
Yes, we can confirm that.
And it's Miss Briscoe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's not as extravagant as the carousel, but I mean, it's pretty much cut and dry. It's a storage shed, just 8 feet by 16 feet. It's 10
Sir,
feet high.
Mr. Britt, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just need to ask really quickly, are there any
Conflicts?
yes, with this application? Does anyone have any?
Not for me.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's
You're
okay.
fine. But yeah, again, yeah, it's an 8 by 16 shed. It's a wooden shed. It's prefab, so it's already pre-built before it comes to site. It is 10 feet high. It has a metal roof, so it's super secure. And it is 10 feet away from the house, 10 feet away from the property line. It's the same as my house right now, and it's on a lot size of 14,000 square feet, and it's going to be in the backyard, and it will not be an eyesore to the street. So if you have any other questions, I mean, like I said, it's pretty simple, and that's about it. I appreciate you guys taking your time for consideration upon approval.
Thank you.
I do have just a couple questions. This is Molly Whitlatch. And I don't see the picture that I was thinking of, but I thought that there was a picture that showed the building turning. Like it was located in one place and then you were moving it to another place, but I don't see it in the packet now. But is this a new building, or is this building already on site and you're moving it?
No. Okay.
Are we on mute? No.
Yeah. So it will be delivered. It's already already made off-site. So then it'll be delivered.
Okay, I don't know what's the next picture down, Jamie? Okay, that's the one I was thinking of, because it looked like it was being like moved from one spot to another.
Oh, okay, I understand. Yeah, so this just giving you the dimensions and the distance from the house to the back of the property line, to the side of the property line. And then this box in the middle is just a description of the shed.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I got totally confused. I understand now. Okay. And then you said that the shed is not visible from the street. Is that right?
Unless you're about 7 feet tall, you won't be able to see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Do any other commission members have questions for the applicant? Okay.
And were there any other outside emails, or is there anyone online that wants to ask any questions?
Oh, and I'm sorry, I do have one other question.
Okay.
Are there any trees being removed in order to put the shed in?
No, there will not be any trees removed. It's already empty space right there.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Jane.
No problem. Okay, I am not seeing anyone's hand raised, but I'll just remind you, this is item number 3. And it is for HD 21-15. If you're interested in speaking on this item, please raise your hand or dial *9 if you're calling in.
Right, so it's all wood construction and a metal roof. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing anyone with their hand raised or interested in speaking, Lori.
Okay. So we'll go through the findings of fact. B7-2, new garages and outbuildings should be sited to the rear of the main building with setbacks, height, and massing compatible with other garages and outbuildings on the street. If the setback does not conform to city code specifications, a variance must be obtained from the Board of Adjustment. B7-5, garages and outbuildings should be freestanding structures. No attached garages or outbuildings are allowed. B7-6, prefabricated wood storage buildings are permitted if they are not visible from the street and are camouflaged in some manner. B7-7, metal utility sheds, metal carports, and metal garages are not allowed. Okay. Does anyone else have any other findings they want to add to these?
I would add that no trees are going to be removed.
Okay. Okay.
Move to approve the findings of fact with Molly's addition.
Thank you. Second?
Second, James.
Thank you. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Go ahead, sorry.
Any opposed? Sorry. Okay, so we're clear on that. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the COA?
Christina,
moved.
motion to approve.
Second, Brian Pennington.
Okay, any opposed? Nope, all in favor? I did that backwards.
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, awesome.
All right, congratulations on your application, and just you're welcome to go ahead and proceed with the building permits at this time. Make sure to, before construction occurs or the building is placed on the property, we have yellow cards that you should have displayed in a spot that's visible. I'll be preparing those, and you're welcome to come by either tomorrow or by the end of the week to pick one up.
All right, thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Thank you too, Jamie. You were very helpful.
Thank
Back
you.
and forth emails.
My pleasure. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Before we move to the next item, I just wanted to make one comment regarding this application. So, and this is not for the applicant. You guys are excused. So we have been moving towards a digital permit submission process. So you'll see in the packet, the certificate of appropriateness that has draft all over it is really what I'll be providing to you at this point, as opposed to, this is when folks, and we're going to try to hope that it moves in this direction more often, as opposed to submitting the paper application. This would be the application that shows, the property address and what the applicant is looking to do. We may be able to fine tune this a little bit more, but it's a little limited in terms of what we can print out. But I just wanted to point that out because I don't think that we've had this yet, this occur yet. Usually you'll see the paper copies with the old style application. So just feel free to ask questions if you're unclear about something. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're moving on to the agenda to new business. Aurora Cotton Mills Finishing Plant landmark designation.
Yes. And so if you recall from the March meeting, Herb Coleman of Placken Properties was interested in applying for the landmark designation for the property located at 741 East Webb Street. There was a report that was a designation report that was prepared by Ms. Heather Fernbeck of Fernbeck History Services. That report was forwarded to the State Historic Preservation Office for their review and recommendation. The state responded on April 9th, 2021. There was some minor advisory comments, which the applicant has integrated in a updated report, which the commission has received. The Historic Preservation Office noted in their letter that they felt that the commission had the information needed to determine whether or not the resources possessed the requisite special local significance and integrity for the local landmark designation. Staff concurs with the state's findings and recommends approval of the landmark designation report. And if the commission concurs, then the applicant would, or the application would be forwarded ultimately to the city council, where a public hearing would be required for formal adoption as an amendment to the zoning ordinance. The staff report includes the local landmark designation report and maps, as well as the state's or letter of recommendation. The applicant is also present on the call. I believe Ms. Fernbeck is on the call, as well as Mr. Coleman. And so I would just ask if they're interested in speaking, that they can attest to the best of their ability that the information that they're going to provide is the truth to the best of their knowledge.
Are there any conflicts of interest with this first item under new business? Okay. All right.
Okay, Mr. Coleman, do you have any additional information that you would like to supplement?
I would defer to Heather on that. Not really from my end. Looks like Heather's on mute, but it's pretty straightforward. We're trying to get it protected like we did May Hosiery. We're the folks that did May Hosiery also. And so we want to preserve the mill. It's one of the best preserved mills I've seen in many years. It's magnificent inside. The owner, to his credit, has really protected the mill. So often you find these mills where you let a little roof leak persist and it'll deteriorate the mill. But this mill is in immaculate shape inside, from the clear stories to the heavy timber construction. And we think the windows exist, the original steel windows in a lot of the areas of the mill behind the brick facade. So at least that's where we're hoping. So, our goal would be to preserve the steel windows and everything that we can inside the mill. So it'll be a little bit different than May Hosiery, because if you recall, May Hosiery's windows didn't exist and we had to acquire new windows. They look beautiful, but this will be more of a true preservation of the, what we'll have more to work with here, I think, in terms of integrity.
Can you just speak to, we all, I think, recall this application and read the report, and it was very well done. Can you highlight what the differences are in the updated report? Or Heather?
Yeah, that may be a question for Heather.
Heather, are you able to hear us? Heather? Oh, there's a call coming in
I think
that.
that might be her.
Mhm. Heather, are you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, that will finally work. Sorry.
So there was
Yes.
there was a question regarding what were the changes that were incorporated in the revised report?
SHPO had requested that an added emphasis be made on the lack of integrity of the remaining part of the Aurora complex across the street. So I made that assertion in several places in the report, but that was really the only difference in the two documents. So you had reviewed the substantial amount of information in terms of the historical background narrative and the architectural significance argument. So it was just a tiny little tweak.
And Heather, I've mentioned this, you may not have heard it because we do need to just swear you in. So can you confirm to the best of your ability that the information that you've provided and may provide in the future is the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes, I affirm that is the case.
Thank you so much. Any other questions for the applicant? By commission members? It does look like there's a couple hands up, Lori. I will first recognize Faith Grant from Preservation Burlington.
Hi, I just wanted to express my gratitude to Clackamas Properties for restoring the Mayhosiery Mill and taking a chance on Burlington, and that it works so well that you are interested in taking another chance with Aurora Mills. I am not actually super familiar with this mill. Are there any photos of the interior and exterior that can be shared?
Sure, the report is extremely thorough. I can pull up on my screen the PDF, and you can also view the entire packet, which includes this report on the Historic Preservation Commission's webpage. So I'm not sure how many pages there are of photos, but these are mostly, Heather, if you want to point me to the interior ones.
Okay, if you just keep scrolling down, they start after the exterior, so right there, and continue throughout the mill. Those are all the different phases of the mill's construction.
Faith, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. And I'm trying to get to the, I think I have to stop sharing, but I also saw another hand raised. It looks like it's down now. It may have been Heather trying to call in.
Yeah, that was both Heather and
Yep.
Faith. Mhm.
Yep.
Ms.
Okay.
Grant. Mhm.
Any other members of the audience that would like to ask questions or comments on this application? Please indicate with a hand raise or press *9 on your phone if you're calling in. Okay, I am not seeing anyone else, Lori. And so just as a reminder, we're asking for the HPC to move or make a request to move this item forward ultimately to City Council for public hearing.
Make a motion, this is Molly, to approve the designation report as amended and to move the application forward to City Council.
Second, Christina.
So is the city council the final word on this designation?
Yes, they are, and I believe it would go to the Planning Commission first for a recommendation. I don't want to miss that step, but ultimately, City Council would be the official body to consider and adopt an amendment to the zoning ordinance, which essentially this is what it would become, an overlay to the property, similar to the Carousel site.
Okay. Thank you.
So there was a motion and a second. All in favor?
Christina, second. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved, it's approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're excited about another project in town.
We're excited too. Thank you.
Yes, definitely, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And also, I just wanted to let you know, we will obviously keep everyone apprised as the National Register designation process moves forward as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a good evening, thanks.
thank
too.
you. Our next item on the new business is the Architectural and Historic Design Standards Update. So who's speaking?
I'll be
Jamie?
happy to,
Okay.
yep, I'll be happy to introduce this item as well. So included in the packet is the staff report, which summarizes the fact that back in October of 2020, the City Council approved update to the Unified Development Ordinance. And at that time, section 3.19E4 made modifications to the architectural and historic standards, which replaced guidelines with standards in accordance with Chapter 160D. So in your packet today is a track change version of the document where we have stricken out the text that we have found that would need to be changed to be consistent with 160D. There are no other significant modifications that are being proposed at this time. Staff does recommend approval of this request and asks that the HPC recommend approval as well and forward this item to City Council for public hearing, which will be required for formal adoption.
And I'll just add to that, this is a statewide change to the legislation. It used to be 160A, now it's 160D. And part of the reason behind this particular change is that they wanted to change the language from guidelines to standards so that it didn't sound like this was something optional. The guidelines, I think, sounded more like they were recommendations instead of a zoning overlay requirement. So that is something that's being implemented across the state, and all historic commissions are being required to update their guidelines to be called standards. We have a deadline to do that. I think it's like July 1st. So this isn't something that Jamie came up with for fun.
Believe me, that was this document is, as you know, not only interesting in its language, but in the format of how this document was prepared. So you can ask Conrad and I how much fun it was to go through and try to identify all of the track changes without significantly modifying the text itself. So we did our best, but I think you got the general idea here.
Okay. Are there any public comments about the update to the standards? Do we have anyone online?
I don't see anyone with their hand raised. Just a reminder, if you're interested in speaking on this item, please raise your hand, use the raise hand feature, or dial *9 on your phone if you're called in. I will also say that we have not received any calls on this particular item.
Okay. Okay, so with that, could I get a motion to approve the request and move forward for this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the standards as submitted in the agenda packet.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. So we are approved to move that forward to city council. Awesome.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay. Item C under new business. Jamie, if you want to.
Sure. So staff received three separate applications for an amendment to the local historic overlay district boundary. Those applications have been included in your packet. In terms of process, this item has not been advertised. It has not been noticed. The purpose of it being included on the agenda is for HBC to make a recommendation to initiate an investigation report, which would be pursuant to the process and procedures outlined in the Unified Development Ordinance, section 3.19E 2C. Essentially, an investigation report would need to be prepared that identifies specific items. That report would then be submitted to the state for their review and recommendation. And then it would come back to the HPC, similar to how we did with the landmark application. At that time, we would take formal testimony, notice the item, and it opened up to the public for formal comment. So just a reminder, we're not taking any formal comments or testimony tonight. I do want to recognize that Mr. Gant is on the call. He has submitted the applications.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay.
So the question before the commission is whether to support the initiation of an investigation.
It's to initiate an investigation report. Would be what would be required under our Unified Development Ordinance process for an amendment, either new designation or the designation of the local historic district.
I just have one question about the application for Mr. Gant, if he's able to, is he connected?
Mr. Gant, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So in just briefly reviewing the applications, it looks like they are signed by you individually, but am I correct in understanding that all of these properties are owned by various corporate entities?
1022 West Davis Street is the house that I was born in and continue to live in with my wife, Denise Gant. We also own 713 East Willowbrook, which is adjacent to the property. Our company, Glen Raven Incorporated, owns 1016, of which I am chairman of the board. And 1010 is also owned by Glen Raven Incorporated, of which I am chairman of the board.
Okay. And it was my understanding, though, that 1022 was owned by an LLC. Is that correct?
Actually, there are several. Yes, it is the LLC, and I'm the general partner.
Okay. Well, the only reason I ask is because I think, staff may need some additional information from you as far as, authorization from the owner of record, the title owner of those properties for submitting the application.
I think it's technically my irrevocable trust in my estate.
Okay, well, I mean, as long as you can work with staff to, provide whatever information they need regarding the ownership.
I am the legal owner of the property.
Okay.
So I'll just, ask for staff, or I'm sorry, for HPC's consideration of the investigation report at this time.
At some point in time, I would love to say something.
So I think I'm really unclear what question actually the commission is being asked to consider.
Sure, I'll pull up the UDO under my shared screen so you can see. So this is on page 3-76 of the Unified Development Ordinance. And as I mentioned, it's section 3.19E2C, and it falls under this section here that talks about an amendment procedure that the Historic Preservation Commission shall prepare an investigation report. It talks about what that report should include, and that is the step that we're on right now. And then it talks more about the state review of that report and the timing for them to be able to provide comments, as well as the city council review and recommendation and final decision by city council. But the step that we're on right now is the initiation of an investigation and report.
So as I read this, there's not actually a question we're being asked to consider. The statute is causing the HPC to initiate the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's no actionable item before us right now.
That's right.
What I would, if I may interject, Chairwoman Brian,
Yes.
what we're asking for to confirm what Jamie and Commissioner Pennington are saying, we're asking that the HPC initiate the report. So I think it'd be appropriate to have a motion made to direct staff to initiate the report per the Unified Development Ordinance requirements to have this process take place. That is a de-designation of property from the city's local historical overlay district.
Yes. So could I get a motion to initiate the investigation?
I'll make a motion to direct staff to initiate the investigative report. And as part of that, I would ask staff to coordinate with Mr. Gant and any commission members that wish to have a site visit, and also ask staff to initiate an RFP process to solicit a consultant to prepare the report and to gather whatever information is needed.
And Chairwoman Brian, if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Gant wanted an opportunity to address the commission, and he should do so before the motion is made. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw my motion.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gant.
Thank you very much, Laurie. I appreciate it, and thank you all for your time on this issue. Just to be transparent, completely transparent, we have lived in this house since I was born in 1947. And my family has been in this community for in excess of 200 years. We have been very supportive of all the above. It's interesting that the Carousel project, my mother was the vice chair of the funds that raised to fix the carousel in the beginning. And so we've had a long history of involvement with the community. I certainly had no intention to proceed in this manner. And the reason that I say that is because I truly believe that a site visit and seeing the peculiarities of this block, the things that have happened, and the economic issues that are at stake, which are significant, that good common sense and conversation might lead to opportunities for everybody involved. It seemed that the commission did not want to proceed that way. And the only way that I could move this forward was to make this application. So I have done so absolutely with vim and vigor. The mayor and 3 other city council members have met with me individually there, 2 at a time, as well as Hardin Watkins, the city planning and the inspection department, and their associates have met with me on the property to see the issues at hand. So I'm very transparent about it. I've been involved in it all my life with tough emotions, obviously. But I believe it is without a doubt the best thing to happen for our property. And I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has. And I'm happy to be completely transparent in anything you'd like to know and understanding. And so thank you for your time, and I'm wide open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Gant, for sharing that with us. I think at this point, we have to move forward with doing the report before we can get into more deep conversation. Am I correct, Jamie, on that?
Yes, there would need to be, in terms of discussing the particulars of the application in a formal matter, the item would need to be noticed and advertised. So, but this is just the initial, like I mentioned before, this is just the initial stage to initiate the report.
So, Mr. Gant, you will have opportunity to talk further about the situation and what you want to do once we receive the report and can look at it, and then come back, and then we'll be able to have a discussion on how to keep proceeding.
I understand that, and I appreciate that. I think that I would be remiss, though, if I didn't point out that when private citizens, either officially or unofficially, cannot talk and communicate and exchange ideas with city agencies, then I think we have reached a point that it's really, really difficult for anybody to move forward. Certainly the mayor and the city fathers didn't have any problem having a conversation. And so I will work very hard to make sure that all the details are included. And I'm sorry that we're having to move in this manner on this delicate issue, because I realize how delicate the issue will be for the commission and for the city. and also the expense that will be involved in trying to get a resolution to the issue.
Well, and Mr. Gann, if I can just respond briefly, this is Molly Whitlatch. The Historic Commission is a quasi-judicial board, and we're different from the city council. We are not permitted legally to speak with applicants about prospective applications, and we were advised by the city attorney not to speak with you or any other applicants about a prospective application. What we can do is have conversations generally about preservation. But if we were to speak with applicants about prospective applications, we would then have to recuse ourselves from those proceedings, because we would have had ex parte communications, just in the same way that you can't speak to a judge before your hearing. So I apologize that, that's made this process more difficult for you. And, I understand the frustration of the public as far as that process goes, but, that was not a choice that any of us made. We are willing as a commission or individual commission members to conduct a site visit once an application is submitted. But unfortunately, the state laws and the case law and the guidance that we received from our council was that we weren't permitted to do that.
I wouldn't change my statement at all.
Okay.
And again, remember that we started this process on January the 15th. And here we are on May the 11th. And we still haven't made any progress.
I'm not sure what process started in January, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other commission members have any comment or anything? Okay. So Molly, do you want to make your motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion for staff to initiate an investigation report regarding the applications pursuant to the UDO and statute, including asking staff to coordinate site visits with Mr. Gant and any commission members that wish to participate in that process, and also to ask staff to initiate an RFP to solicit a consultant to prepare a report and to gather information that the consultant may need or that the commission may need as part of that report.
I second, James.
Thank you. Okay. So we're all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right.
All right, thank you very much. We're at the towards the end of the meeting, guys. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yes. So we're at other business, and Jamie, I will let you proceed.
All right, I'll try to be brief on these. And most of the items are just, informational updates really to you, since we haven't met for a couple of months. And so at the May 4th City Council meeting, Lori did an excellent job with her presentation on the Mine Tree Pine Award to Miss Sue Lazara. She's the owner of 727 West Davis Street. She really appreciated the recognition and the award and talked a lot. And I don't know how many of you were in attendance of that meeting. It's also National Preservation Month, so there was a presentation to Preservation Burlington too. But she really appreciated the recognition. Her property, I guess, is also a National Historic designated site as well. So, and she definitely talked about the value of being within the local historic district and the benefits of why she moved to the area. So I think we might try to get that video and have that on the HPC's website somehow at some point. But it was a great presentation, Laura. You did an excellent job. Field work is underway for the architectural survey grant. There's updated information on the website, on Historic Burlington website, as well as contact information in the event that a property owner or the public wants to provide additional resources to the consultant. I believe they're expected to be completed. The survey work is expected to complete it towards the end of July or into the summer. But we'll update you more on that as it goes on. I have received a couple of calls from people who received the postcards, just asking some questions, but feel free, if you've got anyone who has questions, feel free to point them in our direction. You may also be aware that we submitted a grant application to update the design guidelines, and that was submitted to the state in April. Big thanks to Molly for her assistance in that. This grant request was supported by City Council, so we moved quickly to get an application in. We're not sure, the status of that at this point, and hopefully it'll be well received, and if not, we're in good shape for next year. So we'll keep you updated on that. Also included in the packet were the series of minor COAs that were approved. I'm not going to go through all of them for the sake of time. I think I might have mistakenly also included a major COA by accident, but the majority of them were the COAs that were approved administratively. New signage has been installed along the entrances of the South Broad and East 5th Street National Historic District. So that was mentioned a couple of times by HPC members, and I did a field survey of signs that either were taken down or areas that were missing. So that's been updated. If you feel that additional areas may also need additional signage or have recommendations on areas where signage is lacking, please let us know. We'll be happy to do that as well. Also included in the packet was a response letter from the State Historic Preservation Office recognizing the city's continued efforts and certification as a certified local government partner in the state's historic preservation program. So Conrad submitted you're welcome to go into more detail in terms of what you submitted, but he submitted the annual survey information that summarizes all the different activities that the commission has done, our applications, the training for last year, and the state reviews that and just certifies that we're certified, I guess. But happy to say that the state has continued to recognize the great efforts that the commission continues to do. So appreciate Conrad's work on that and all that you guys are doing. With that said, one of the last items that we wanted to talk about were the training videos. So I guess I'll try to steer this off a little bit. So I had the opportunity to listen to, I think, 4 or 5 of the training videos. I thought they were all very interesting. But those are training videos. They're, I think 2 and 5, if I recall, I have to pull up the email, were recommended by the state as the priority to review first. And once a commission member reviews, watches the training, then we could have a short discussion on it. And then ultimately, we would need to submit a summary of the training session and submit that to the state for their check off that we've completed the training. And I understand that there'll be updates to the training sessions shortly for 2021. So I guess I would just like to see if we're prepared to talk about the training sessions and how many folks actually went ahead and followed the recommendation to watch some videos. If you've watched them, just raise your hand.
I
Okay.
haven't watched all of them.
Yeah, me neither. I've watched one and I've watched another one, and I've done 2 summaries on 2 of them, but I don't know if it's the right one. It's the architect one and then the main one. So I don't know if those count, but I have done summaries on them, but I haven't looked at the other ones yet, but I can get to it.
And I think
Okay.
we all have to submit our summaries separately, like not as just one summary for the group.
When I spoke to I think it was Christy about it, she said it could be done either way. But I
Oh,
guess
okay.
I guess maybe it would just be easier because in the email with the training links, there's her email contact information. But I would also just say if you're going to email her with your summary, just CC us so that we're aware, that we can mark it down so we're aware that you've completed that, and we don't have to hassle you either.
I do have one question about the minor series before we
Sure.
jump into this. 408 Fountain Place. Were you able to confirm whether the other changes that had been applied for back in 2018 or 2019 when the original hearing was, so there were the windows, but there was also some siding that had to be replaced and a back door. Are those things still outstanding? Is another COA extension being issued for those?
So I have reached out, I've sent an email and I've called the property owner and I have not heard back from him yet. And so it's my understanding though, that those other items are still outstanding. And so that there would need to be an extension of time granted for all of the work that was approved.
So if a prospective purchaser was to search now, would they be able to find that there were outstanding items that were out of compliance? Is there some record of that?
There's right now, there's email correspondence from me to the property owner, so that's public record. And I will be following up with a formal letter to the applicant. He had responded quite quickly in emails before, so I was hoping that would occur again. And just as a formality to make the request to amend the extension to include everything, but I have not heard from him. So I'll have to follow up with him more formally now. And then that will be also a record indicating what's non-compliant.
And then as far as the window application, does he understand that he needs to get the specific windows approved? Okay.
Yep. Yes, I think that was clear in my reading of how it was handled with the HPC. And I reiterated that with him as well.
Okay. And it looks like there's some Burlington connected complaints about that same house.
That's what I have been told, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on the minor COAs?
I don't have any.
I had the same ones about 408 and things, Molly.
Okay. Yeah, does anybody else have anything they need to add or comment or anything?
I have one thing. So are we going to be able to meet back in person again with the numbers kind of going down, or is it still kind of, I'm just curious. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but I mean, Zoom's great, but with the numbers kind of going down in the state, is that something that the city said would be fine with, obviously still social distancing? Yeah.
We have not been, I don't know if Carmen wants to speak more formally to it, but we haven't been given the go-ahead to have an in-person meeting yet. Once that occurs, then, we'll certainly go that route, but there's no direction on that yet.
Okay, just curious.
As soon as we have an update, we'll inform the commission.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Before you do that, it looks like there's still folks who are on the call line. Would it be acceptable to the chair to just see if anyone has any general comments, and not on any application that hasn't been noticed or advertised, but on anything else?
Sure, I'm okay with it.
We don't normally have people stay on this long, so I just wanted to see if anybody had the opportunity and wanted to say anything. It looks like Faith has her hand raised.
Yes.
Hey, this is Faith again. I just wanted to thank everybody for your time and volunteering for the commission. I know that everyone has worked really hard to make the commission meetings as straightforward and simple as possible. So I just want everyone to know that those of us in the district have noticed it, and we appreciate your work.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I know I do. So, anyone else have a comment? Okay.
Just back to Jamie's discussion about the training. Do we want to agree that everybody will watch that I don't remember what number it was, whichever one they recommended as the first one, and be able to discuss that at the next meeting?
I wrote down, it said number 2 and number 5 to review first.
Yes, 2 and 5, the local preservation enabling legislation, and 5, which is the Secretary of Interior standards. Those are the 2. One might be a little bit longer than the other.
I think one's like an hour and one's half an hour.
Yeah, that's the one about the changes to the state legislator. That's a lot to take in. I can just go ahead and tell you now, I've seen it. It's a lot.
It is very technical, but I think it's important to understand, how the historic district came to be, and how the historic commission is, what our authority is.
And even if I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I think even if it's, you feel like you're going to sleep, you're still listening and absorbing what they're saying, so that what I like about it is that, so when we're moving into meetings and going through applications, going through the guidelines, the standards, you're going to go, oh yeah, you're going to pick up on something small that you go, oh yeah, I remember they talked about that. That's how it's been for me, learning on the go, that makes you more comfortable in what we're doing. Because there's still a lot of stuff that I don't understand, but I just keep going. And I think, I get it. I don't want to sit now for an hour and listen and go, what? But I will.
Yeah, and that's me too. I'm not, it was very interesting. There's actually one thing that I would be interested to discuss, something that I'm not really clear on, but I might have misread it, but it's something I did absorb something, and a lot, but this one specific one's a little interesting to me. So hopefully we can discuss it further.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's good. It's good. Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I'll continue to bug you guys then.
Great, thank you.
Except those who have already emailed me, then you're off the hook.
Yeah. Okay. So Are we ready to adjourn? I need a motion. Quick, before somebody else says something. I'm just kidding. No,
I moved. I moved to adjourn.
thank you. I need a second. Thank you, Christina. All right, everybody, did we do a?
All
you
in
know,
favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. None, we don't do an opposed on this, right? No?
I don't think
Okay,
you're gonna get one.
all right, good. We're done. It's 8:49. Clock it.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you.